Welcome to a glimpse into the wonderful world of Helichrysum. There are approximately 250 Helichrysum species in South Africa, and about half of these are in KwaZulu-Natal, the remaining half shared by the other provinces, so they're well represented here. This may seem overwhelming, but knowing what to look for when identifying a Helichrysum makes the process a whole lot easier. The aim of this presentation is to simplify matters by grouping Helichrysum on the basis of easily visible characteristics. It covers the more common Helichrysum species, but excludes those alpine species in the Drakensberg, and should be used together with the notes providing examples of species in each subgroup. The most recognizable characteristic of a Helichrysum is the inflorescence, or the structure of the flowering part of the plant. So let's start here. What appears to be a flower is actually a flower head, that is a densely compact disc of many tiny flowers surrounded by papery bracts. These are not petals. Together, the flower heads make up an inflorescence. It's very important to look at other features, such as the leaves, growth form, and habitat. The flower head bracts are the most eye-catching aspect of the plant, but it's very important to look at the leaves, their position. For example, are they at the base of the stem, or are they all the way up the stem? The color, the texture, how hairy they are, whether the veins are visible or not. Also the growth form. Are they erect plants? Are they mat forming? Are they lax, lying down on the ground? Are there many stems? Is it a shrub? And then the habitat, where the plant prefers to grow. For example, rock sheets, or in grassland, maybe damp areas, or on sand. The first step in the identification process is to determine whether your plant has a compound or solitary inflorescence. A compound inflorescence comprises many flower heads and is often branched. Examples here are Helichrysum nudifolium at the top, and at the bottom, Helichrysum auriceps. The latter has large flower heads, the one at the top has small flower heads, but they're all branched and compound inflorescences. The second group are those with single, usually solitary flower heads. If there's more than one, each flower head is clearly separated from its neighbor. Let's start with the group with compound inflorescences. The first subgroup are the small plants with the thin, creeping underground rootstock and erect leafy stems. They don't have leaves around the base of the stem. Plants in this subgroup have a spreading rootstock, giving rise to many stems, so that there appear to be many plants together, as in the slide on the left-hand side. The leaves are arranged up the stem, not at the base of the stem, and there are many small flower heads and a branched inflorescence at the tip of the stem. Here, Helichrysum pinosum is recognized by the small inflorescence and leaves with strong veins and copper-colored edges or margins, particularly in the new leaves. The second subgroup are the plants with mostly rosulate basal leaves and erect unbranched flower stems. In this subgroup, the leaves surround the stem, that's what rosulate means, at the base. There are a few small leaves on the flowering stem, but they are mostly basal leaves, as you can see here in Helichrysum longifolium. Another example of plants with rosulate basal leaves, Helichrysum nudifolium varpillicillum. Note the color of the flower head bracts and the buds on the left. The bracts are brownish, and in mature plants, the yellow flowers are more visible, but if you look carefully, you can see the brown bracts surrounding each flower head. Most of the plants you see in the grassland, the Helichrysums in the grassland, belong to this group. The next subgroup are the flower heads and compound inflorescences are the plants that form sprawling or semi-erect subshrubs. The plants in this subgroup are shrubby but lax, with many branches covered in leaves. The flower heads are clustered together quite tightly. Here are examples of one with whitish flower head bracts, which is Helichrysum asperum. And here's one with bright yellow flower head bracts, Helichrysum odoratissimum, also recognized by its strongly aromatic leaves when they are crushed. The last subgroup of the compound inflorescences are the large shrubs, generally over 1 meter tall. On the left we have Helichrysum munti, which has one erect leafy stem without basal leaves in a rosette. The leaves are long and narrow, but at the base of each leaf they run down onto the stem in wings, which makes the plant very recognizable. On the right, we have a shrub, a woody shrub, Helichrysum populifolium, recognizable by its large grey leaves, tiny flower heads, but with a strong honey scent after a hot day, which is very pleasant. We move now to the second group, flower heads single, solitary, or well separated from each other. The first subgroup are the plants forming mats or lode clumps. These plants hug the ground, forming cushions or mats, and they generally grow on rock sheets or bare soil. The branches are leafy, and the flower heads are on the tips of the branches. A widespread example is Helichrysum caenosferum. The second subgroup are those small plants with rosulate or mostly basal leaves and erect flowering stems. They're characterized by having the leaves surrounding the base of the stem and erect, almost leafless flowering stems. In overall appearance, they are similar to the plants in the group with compound inflorescences, the main difference being that here the plants generally have a single flower head. This is Helichrysum eclonus. The flower head bracts are pink in bud and generally fade to white in mature plants. Don't rely on leaf color here. Their leaves can vary from greyish to light green, depending on the condition and the degree of hairiness. The next subgroup are small plants with erect leafy stems. A common example is Helichrysum herbaceum. Note the densely leafy stems. They may be green or they may be slightly greyish. The flower head bracts are brown outside and yellow to cream inside. The next subgroup are the subshrubs, which are sprawling. And these plants have many leafy stems from a common base, and the entire plant is generally greyish-white because of the hair. Helichrysum margyrolepis has shiny white flower head bracts. The last subgroup of the single or solitary flower heads are the large ones, generally greater than 1 meter tall, and they are erect. The stems are unbranched, although the inflorescence may be branched, and the flower heads are bright yellow. This example is Helichrysum decorum. This subgroup is often confusing because at a glance, several of the plants look similar. It is important to look at the leaves in particular, as well as the flower head size, shape of inflorescence, and time of flowering. Helichrysum decorum has distinctive greyish-green leaves. It's generally an erect plant, but close to the sea, it's more compact and shrubby, shaped by the wind. To recap, how to identify your plant. First of all, decide whether your plant has a compound inflorescence or a single flower head. Once you've done that, choose the subgroup that best fits your plant. Then consult the notes, for example, in each subgroup. This list is not exhaustive, but it's the species you're most likely to encounter. When you've found the species, one or two, that best match your plant, confirm your identification with iNaturalist or field guides. I hope this introduction will encourage you to identify the Helichrysum you encounter in your area and on field trips. So go out there and enjoy.